Hey everyone,
Honestly, it's
welcome
just
to this episode of Into the Shoujo-Verse. I'm your host today, Nikki, and I'm here with Miso, Bees, and Sumo.
Hello.
And so today we're going to talk about Shoujo versus Josei. So what do you guys think are some of the main differences between Shoujo and Josei?
Well, we can go first in defining Josei. I'll do it. So Josei manga is usually catered towards older women that range, or like older folk ranging from 18 to 45, and they have like more mature themes.
Yeah, that's true. I think whenever I think of Josei, I think mostly of like office settings or like college settings, kind of like outside of that high school setting. Not to say that there aren't like overlaps between the two genres with those characteristics, but that's just kind of the like a general, very general split that I have in mind when I think of those.
Yeah, I basically the same thing where I think like Josei is like the female protagonist tends to be an older female rather than a high school student. And then Shoujo is more like high school setting and teen.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as like older women ourselves, like I think all of us are over 18. What do you think shoujo is appealing, or how does shoujo appeal to us more so than josei?
I think shoujo generally has like more happier endings. Like I know a lot of times in Josei, like because they're more mature themes, they like break up often, or there's like more like conflict that's too relatable. Versus shoujo has like that ideal.
I don't know, reading shoujo is most definitely a lot more, there's a lot more simple shoujos, if that makes sense. Like ones where I'm not trying to find some deep meaning behind or learn some lesson about life. I'm just, it's just like a little feel good, like, oh, I feel a little giddy. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, it's so cute, my heart's beating.
Get that doki doki.
Yeah, you get that. You get that doki doki. Almost nostalgic sometimes. Well, I don't know. I don't really feel that much nostalgia because I feel like Japanese high school life is very different from American high school life, or maybe Canadian high school life. But I don't know. It's usually not as, like the problems that they face in high school are not the same as the problems that you see happening in like Joseis as much either.
Since like I feel like the office life setting you see more often in Josei. I don't think like we see that often in the US. Like that type of office type setting. Like can you just apply for an office job here like with that similar type of like environment? I don't think so, right?
Oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not really sure. I don't have a basic office job. Corporate. I don't have like a huge corporate job that might be in that. But yeah, I think it's funny how in a lot of those like office type, like joseis or mangas and stuff, like you don't really know what they're actually doing. Like they just like, I'm just a salaryman, or I just have an office job, and they have like they throw out all these like generic terms, and you're just like, what is this? What is this company?
some of them are a little better about it. You can tell they're like, oh, I'm a realtor, or oh, I can think of one that's like wholesales candy. But yeah, most of the time it's just super generic. I think just to make it more relatable to other,
Yeah.
office workers.
Now that you say that, I never know what the company is. It's always like, I have to do these paperwork, but I'm like, what are these paperwork for?
My boss, and I'm like, boss, what does he do?
My company, which is in the top 10 in Japan of all jobs.
I'm writing a proposal for something.
Oh man, our files are corrupted. We have to stay late. Like, what files?
This competing company is trying to steal all our work.
What competition?
It's so generic. I think it's so funny how they just throw out all these like generic office terms, and they're like, "Oh, my company," or I don't know. It's just, you think that would be incorporated more into the office life setting of actually knowing what you're doing.
I think that kind of depends on the series, though, because a more shallow series, I think, when the focus is like it's entirely about romance, is not going to tell you anything about what the main character is doing at work. All you know is they're working, and they're like stressed all the time because of work. But a better series will be like, this is what I'm doing at work, and this is why it's stressing me, and this is why I chose this profession.
Yeah.
You can tell a difference between the series that
I think the
Yeah.
shallow
do
ones, like
specify
you said,
versus
are
the
like
one
for
that don't.
self-insertion, right? Like you're gonna end up with your hot boss, and that's the goal.
You kind of just wonder sometimes why are you in this job? Like, is this what you wanted to do? Were you a business major in college? I don't know.
That's what I don't get. Sometimes I go straight into the job, like out of high school. I didn't know you could do that.
some
Why
places
can't
you
I
can.
do that?
It depends.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how they're doing all this.
Actually, that's a good point. Because when you said that, when you asked why are you in this job, there are some that I think the self-insert ones, the ones you're able to more relate to. Oh, I'm just going to work to make money and yada yada. I don't care about this job. I just am doing it to survive. That is one sort of relatability. But there are some others where the main characters like choose that job because they want to do it. The one that comes to mind is Sesame Salt and Pudding, where the main character, she wanted to be a heavy machine operator. That's what she always wanted to be her whole life, and then she finally got that job, and she's so excited to do it.
Oh, that's interesting. I've not
Sorry,
read
I
that
didn't
one.
read it.
So
It's a good one. It's like an
Same.
older male lead.
Yeah, it's an age gap, but the female lead is also older, so it's not like a creepy 40-year-old man hitting on a high school girl.
Yeah. Makes sense. So what do you guys think are some other like defining characteristics of Josei that separates it from shoujo? Other than like the office, like kind of like the older setting.
Smut.
Yeah, the spice.
It's true. When they're older, it also comes with I mean, if the characters are 18 plus, there's a little bit of some 18 plus spice. I do think that they do tend to have a little bit more like age gaps in their main characters, or like even just like a few years, because that's a little more realistic too, I guess. If you read a lot of shoujo, most of them are like in the same year, or like maybe like 1 year, and then they make a whole big deal out of how like someone's senpai or something. But like, and so in shoujo, a
But
lot
that's
of
how
them
it
are like the
was though
same
in high
age.
school. Since like I don't like if you were a senior, it's really weird to date a freshman. That's only 4 years versus a 22 and a 26-year-old. That's not that weird.
Yeah, it's realistic. It's realistic,
It's-
but I think it's also kind of interesting how that's also like a thing of Josei, you know? Like there's a little more leeway in that stuff. Because that kind of
for
just
sure.
reflects life.
Yeah, because it's weird for an 18-year-old to be dating a 14-year-old. That's just weird.
Yeah, that's
Very
weird.
creepy.
Also,
IMO.
like, I mean, there's also the 16-year-old dating her teacher?
Ugh.
The classic shoujo trope.
Yeah.
The classic trope that shouldn't be classic.
But it unfortunately is.
Yeah, so what are some of you guys' favorite Joseis or maybe trashy Joseis that you don't like? We can just go through and talk about ones that we've read and kind of give our recommendations or give our reviews.
Can you think of? You can go first, Nikki.
What do I think of first? I think of Nana. That's a Josei, right? I think of Nana. Nana was probably one of the first Joseis I feel like I've like watched or really like maybe immersed myself into thinking it was a Josei, because there's like a lot of Joseis that you read and you like don't really know it's a Josei. It just happens to be one. But Nana was one where I was like, this is most definitely not a shoujo. Like this is a very Josei, if that makes sense.
Rest in peace, the hiatus. Anybody who's still waiting.
Yeah. I would recommend Nana, except that it's like, who knows when it's gonna actually be completed. That's the only
Yeah.
Yeah,
problem.
that's why I
It's
haven't
been
read
on
it.
Yeah, same. That's why I haven't read it either. Like, how long has it been in hiatus? Like, so many years.
Yeah. But I think it's still very good. It's very interesting, the plot line that developed, or like I think the premise of it is very unique. And I don't know, it gets pretty wild. I watched it when I was younger, and I feel like I would appreciate it more now. But I was like in middle school or like early high school when I was like watching it, and it was like a little like I was like, oh my god, this is like I was like, oh, this is a little more mature, and they're like getting really real, and they're like not making a big deal out of like sex and stuff.
I just looked into Nana. It's been on hiatus since 2009, and the author actually apologized. She said, "Nana is the work of my life. There, I put into all the cards in my hand. I'm sorry because they have waited so long. I'm going to eventually do my best." And this was like in 2016, so hopefully, like she'll start working on it. But she got hospitalized. So I'm sure, like for her health, she didn't want to like put so much be under so much stress.
Yeah, that's interesting too. Yeah, I am trying to finish the anime as well, but it's also not really that much of a priority because I'm like, dude, it's on a hiatus. I don't know. I think it kind of brought me to thinking about just talking about it now, how the smut in shoujo and the smut in josei is also very different. Or like,
Oh yeah. It's more sensual, right? In Josei versus in Shoujo, it's kind of like they did it.
In Shoujo, it's like a 2-panel thing.
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
like,
it's implied.
over. We did it. Yeah.
And it was raining.
But but it makes sense though, because you don't really want to see like underage
Kids.
teens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that sexualized, right? It's
Yeah.
kind
It's child porn.
of weird.
yeah.
Essentially, yeah, it is.
FBI, open up.
Eh.
Wee wee.
Yeah, I think I mean the shoujo smuts are usually more focused on like kind of like first experiences too, and you know, part of that puberty, maturing. And then josei, they don't make it as big of a deal in my opinion. Like it kind of just happens and you're like, oh, like they don't build up to it all the time. I feel like a lot of like shoujo smut like will build up to it.
I feel like the older Joseis do make a big deal out of it, but like the more modern ones, they don't really care, which makes sense. And it's like it's not as much of a taboo topic as compared to before.
Yeah, they just dive right in and they're like, well, sex scene, okay.
Here we are.
They like a lot of
Yeah.
them, a lot of the joseis started to, there's like that trend where a lot of things start from like a one night stand.
Oh yeah. The trope. The one night stand trope.
Yeah, one night stand trope where like they start something because they had a one night stand, so they literally started with sex.
Yeah, and then oh no, we ran into each other at our new job. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no, I'm pregnant.
Oh no, yeah, I'm pregnant. I don't know.
Huh, that plot sounds familiar.
Positively yours.
Huh, plot sounds familiar there.
Oh, it turns out he's rich.
And hot.
And then he'll pay for everything.
She really won.
She really did.
Yeah.
He's hot too. And apparently good at sex too. That she can't forget.
All that from a one night stand. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and that's Positively Yours if you missed it. Is the name of the series.
It's a webtoon.
good-
It's
it's
on
good.
Tapas.io if anybody. It's officially licensed and it's good.
It's good.
End of
I'm being serious.
What other joseis can you guys think of?
I think easily my favorite Josei is Goku's like Goku-sen. It's so funny.
oh, that's a good one.
All of the mangaka's work are like top notch. Kudaike no Hitobito, Ashi Girl. They're all so funny, so good. I think Ashi Girl is technically a shoujo, but like it's the same type of comedy. It's so funny.
Can you describe a little bit?
It's just like stupid humor.
Oh.
Uh, so in Goku-san, the female lead, her dad, she's a teacher, and her dad and she grows up in like a yakuza household, but she decides to be a teacher at like a very like bad school. So all the students try to bully her, and then she like one-ups them because obviously she's super strong because she grew up in like a yakuza household, and it's just like it's like silly humor. If that
The
makes
art
sense.
is pretty
And that's-
hilarious.
Ooh, I might add that on my list.
Like a lot of it is like facial features, like just like stupid like. It's like a lot of dry humor. If you like, it's kind of like The Office, if that makes sense.
It does.
I don't think they did anything about the romance until like towards the end, basically.
I'm not even sure I'd call it romance.
It's more like
More like an acknowledgement of emotions and feelings. Because they don't do anything romantic, really.
I think they hug. That's the most thing I can think of.
What else is there?
I think it's more of a comedy manga than
Yeah.
romance.
Yeah.
Okay, I will probably check it out. What else is there? Maybe. Oh, what about Otakoi?
Ochaga is so good. I love it.
I'm so sad there's no season 2 of the anime yet, though.
It is pretty
Same.
good. I think it's so cute.
I wish they would do more though. The main leads.
Yeah, I feel like the other side couple, like the green hair girl and I forgot their names, and the orange hair guy, like they get more of a screen time as a couple than the main couple does.
They
even in the manga
do.
right now.
Like remember that scene where he's like drunk and she takes a picture of him like cuddling with her? Like we got more with that couple than we did, like you said, the main couple. I wanted more with the main couple. They're so cute. I think they just got too into the comedy and just kind of stopped the romantic development.
They kind of forgot about it, I feel like.
Yeah. I haven't read it in a hot minute though.
Yeah, I really like Otakoi too. It's so, I think for all of us, it gets relatable because, we're all like reading our manga. Especially also, I don't know, it makes me feel a little better about, also being like older and still reading my mangas and stuff. And then, like balancing that with professional life. I think it's also a very like standard example of Josei as well, especially with like that office setting we talked about. I think this is one of the ones where I don't really know what they do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know what their company is. I just know they work in an office.
And they cosplay on the side.
And they write doujinshis on the side too. But I don't know what they do in their professional life.
Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, this is somewhat what I was thinking about when I was like, when I mentioned earlier, like how they sometimes don't explain what they're working as.
But they also have like their own unique personalities where you can't really self-insert.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're not bland characters. You just don't know what they're doing outside.
Yeah, I feel like it's not always like a self-insert thing, but it's just kind of like a detail that, I don't know, I think it would be nice to frame it a little more other than just like a generic office job.
What about you, Bees? What's your favorite Josei?
My favorite Josei. I feel like I read a good amount of Josei. But my favorite, it's an anime. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't read the manga. I should read the manga. But I've watched the anime and it's in my top 3. That would be Shogen Roku Rakugo Shinju. I know it's a mouthful, but it's an absolutely amazing anime with brilliant directing and voice acting. It's about Rakugo is like a sort of one-man comedic storytelling sort of art form in Japan. So it's about this guy who gets out of prison and asks this Rakugo performer to let him be his apprentice And actually, most of the first season is the history of the Rakugo performer, like telling the story to the apprentice. It's really, I'm not doing a great job of explaining it, but it's absolutely amazing, and I think everyone should watch it. It doesn't have much romance, but there is definitely some romantic drama.
I'm pretty sure this mangaka has written a lot of BL.
I mean, I'm sure it's a great show because like I don't know, I kind of like Joseis that don't heavily focus on romance and has like a sort of passion for a career or like some sort of art form that they do.
That's also my
I
favorite
agree.
thing
I'm sure this is
about Josei is, I mean, it's nice when there is romance, but I feel like shoujo is, the story is built around romance, whereas Josei, romance is built into the story.
romance is like an extra sprinkle onto the plot, not the main focus for a lot of
Yeah, in some
Joseis.
cases.
There most definitely are some cases too where romance is the main plot, like Midnight Secretary.
I haven't heard that in a
Midnight
hot minute.
Secretary.
TBT to the early 2000, the mid 2000s.
I think I went on. There's like a phase not that long ago, maybe like a couple years ago, where I went on like a binge of all that mangaka's work after reading Midnight Secretary. I mean, I liked Midnight Secretary. I didn't love it. It wasn't like something where I was like, wow, this is like fantastic. But it was enough for me.
Yeah, I didn't drop it.
There was that other one by the same mangaka that I really liked. It's the one, he's not a vampire, but he's like, he's also like a supernatural, like something to do
that's
with,
the
like,
one I was
you
going
know
to
what
talk
I'm
about
talking
too.
about?
Like, I went on a binge of all of her other stuff, and there's that one other one that she did that I liked a lot.
He's he turns into a tiger. That's the one, right?
Okay, maybe not that
Turns
one.
into like a giant.
Actually, most of her stuff was supernatural. Let me look it up real fast. I think most of her work has some supernatural aspect to it.
The mangaka's name is Tomu Omi.
The one that I liked, it was Anata ni hana o sasagemasho. This is the one where I think they have like ghosts. I think this one has ghosts.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. He's like a spirit stuck in like a knife or something, right? Or like
I think I read that one. And
Yeah,
doesn't she have
something
to
like
marry
that.
him
I think I
or
like
something?
that
yeah.
I do kind of remember the tiger one too, though.
Oh, I think it's Barairo My
Oh,
Honey.
yeah,
That's the
Barayu
name
My
of it.
Honey. Yes, that one.
I think this one was my favorite out of all of her works. Since he's not like, he doesn't like in Midnight Secretary. I remember he had like that internal turmoil of like, I don't love her, she's just a human, but I actually really do love her. But no, I don't love her, she's a human. But
Yeah.
like that went on for so many chapters.
It's a classic turmoil
Yeah,
for all
wasn't
vampire
it?
mangas.
If I remember correctly,
Honestly.
wasn't the resolution to that manga like really like convenient? If I were to say, like, there was a lot of turmoil and a lot of like battling with like vampire clan and everything. And then doesn't it like resolve very easily?
I don't really remember. I remember they had a child, and that child was supposed to be the very strongest vampire, and then that's why all the vampire clans decided
Yeah, I
to
just
leave
remember
them
something
alone.
happened.
Is this like Twilight? This sounds
It
like Twilight
does.
now. The vampire child.
But
that's
she
too
doesn't turn
strong.
into a vampire,
I don't
right?
remember
I don't remember the
exactly
secretary
either.
girl.
Does she just die in the end then?
I don't know.
I just remember that the resolution of it was very like, okay, I guess that works too.
There's another common Josei trope where it's like, oh no, I got kicked out of my house and now I live with my boss.
Some random like,
There's like a couple I've read. There's like a couple I've read with that same exact like
Yeah.
plot
Well,
point. Like the
There's
Damekoi
also
and then Hotaru no Hikari.
the debt one. There's also the debt one where it's like someone signed your name as a guarantor
Oh yeah.
for a debt, and then now you're in debt, and then a yakuza guy helps you, or your boss helps you. Someone rich helps you.
And
And then
then
you become their wife or girlfriend.
you start with being their live-in helper, and then you upgrade to girlfriend.
And then
But-
you become the wife.
Yeah,
Dun,
that
dun,
also
dun.
happens too, though. Like the cohabitation debt type thing happens in shoujos too. I feel like it's just a common random trope that happens in general, which is kind of, if you think about it,
You have
very
to meet
like
somehow.
specific.
There's a lot of tropes that are like very, very specific, like otome isekai. Like it's such a big genre, but like it's also very specific.
And they're all like going into like these medieval European Western settings too, which I think is funny because I'm like,
It's like vaguely European.
Vaguely Europe, yeah. There's like some Asian tropes, like like the concubine trope, but
yeah,
European.
dukes,
Mhm.
Duke or
Duke or
Crown.
prince.
Never, or
Crown
sometimes
prince.
a king, but usually not the king yet.
Sometimes a count.
A knight, yeah.
Oh, a knight. A
I
knight's
was gonna say
also
knight,
very
too. A knight that did something incredible.
I feel like a knight is more rare.
A knight
though.
that becomes a duke.
Okay, that's not rare, but like just a
knight
knight
by
by
itself
itself
is a little
is
rare.
very rare.
The knight is
He has
always
to
the
be,
second
like-
male lead, though.
He has to be like secretly high ranking.
Or
Going back to cohabitation, there's like one that's like, I'd say the peak of all cohabitation, and that is Happy Murray.
Yeah, what are our thoughts
Not the
on
peak,
Happy
I'm kidding.
Happy Mary. It was something.
A lot of something.
It's very toxic.
Yeah, I dropped it.
I remember distinctly he like slaps her in one part because she got too annoying or something.
There was one by the same mangaka where it was like a one shot, and I think like it makes Happy Murray seem like a good marriage. Basically, this one
This
guy tricks like never treats the girl like he pretends to be married. So the female lead had a crush on the guy back in high school, and then they meet up later on in a school reunion. And he like pretends he's still married, and then but then they like obviously do it. And he accidentally gets her like pregnant, and then she stresses over like, oh my god, I'm doing this with a married guy. And then at the end he's like, ha, psych, I was just messing with you, I'm not actually married.
What the hell?
that's fucked up.
And then when like she
What
was
is this
pregnant,
like?
whenever she was like, hey, don't do something like that's annoying me, he would just be like, he just continued doing it purposely to bug her.
Yeah,
And
I've
then
never
when
read
they had
this,
their
but I want to
child-
strangle him.
That's so shitty. Why would you? Why would
And
you
then
do
when they
that to
had-
someone?
I don't know.
What is wrong with this? Why does this author keep giving like slightly toxic?
Do you think it's a sign?
marriage?
There's another one that was really toxic. So this time it was like a college professor, ex-college student. The college professor asks the student to like turn in something or like help him with a project. He gives her like this like liquid drug. He makes her drink it, and then she ends up comatose for a little bit, and then ends up having amnesia. And then he lies to her and tells her, "Hey, we were actually in a relationship." And then one time,
Oh, I remember this one.
did you read it?
Yo,
This
yeah, I did. And then she's like, and like, he basically like plots this whole plot because he was like in love with her. Right?
Yeah, and he was like purposely failing her too, so she like had no choice.
What? That's so fucked up.
And then
Yeah.
she didn't find out until she was going back to the university to give him something. And then she saw her old classmates, and they're like, "Oh no, where did he go? What happened to you?" And she was like, "What? You know me?"
And then she just forgives him, and she's like, "I'm in love, though."
I remember like this one thing where she just like, I think it was like a continuation of it, and she just like commands him to do stuff, and he just does it out of guilt. Which honestly, that's what he deserves, but the best option would have been her leaving him.
He should have gotten arrested.
And Joji Maki, like, I want to know what's going on in her head.
Do you think it's a sign? Does she need help?
I don't want to say anything because she a little bit of help. But I mean, it's all fiction, right? So it's not like anything's happening, you know? But it's also setting up girls to be in like toxic situations and just forget, like, just being like, okay, it's okay because it's all love, you know?
Why do you think? Because I always see people recommend it, and I don't know why. Why do you think people keep recommending Happy Mari? Do they not know any better, Josei?
So I actually kind of enjoyed Happy Mary, I'm not gonna lie. There were like some situations where it was like kind of iffy, but I still like powered through. I mean, it has really good art.
You're the one recommend.
It has.
You were one of those
No, I didn't recommend it. I would never recommend it. It's one of those guilty pleasure kind of deals.
You were the one
I'm sorry. I'm
on
the one giving
Reddit
it
who's like, happy Mari. See, I have some guilty pleasure mangas that are not good either.
I know why you're on Manga Go.
No, okay, no. Is Blackbird considered shoujo or josei? Because there's a lot of like kind of smutty scenes.
I think Blackbird was shoujo.
Okay, well, it's borderline josei because of how much smut there was, but that's my guilty pleasure. It's kind of trash.
I think I read Blackbird.
Yeah, it was published in Shoujo Beat, so yeah, it is shoujo.
I don't think it should be. There's so much smut.
There was a lot of smut. I really like the art in Happy Murray though. I think that's like why a lot of people recommend it. Not a lot of people read stuff for like comics for the plot a lot of times, you know what I mean?
Well, it's kind of a side note. I don't know if any, maybe you guys might know one, but you know all these office setting Joseis, the female leads are always like in lower positions, like the male leads are always CEOs, and the female leads are like secretaries or just like a normal office worker, or like they're always with their boss, you know, but they're never the boss.
Mm-hmm.
And I would want to see something where they were the boss, you know.
That was in Kimiwa Pet, right? I mean, where she's like in a more bigger position than the guy.
Isn't the male
lead.
Kimi Wapet, isn't he like in high school? Am I misremembering?
Wasn't he a
high
college
school?
Oh,
student?
maybe it's that.
There's also, wasn't in like the lady and her butler, isn't she like in a higher position than he is? Because he's
they're
like,
not really in the
homeless?
same, they don't work the same job. She has a position at a company and he's kind of like a freelance, he was like a freelance graphic designer. So I guess she kind of does. But I kind of want it to be where like, I don't know, I guess it happens so much and I would want it where the female lead isn't always like, there isn't always that like weird power dynamic that would come across from like a boss secretary type relationship. But yeah, I do like Lady and Her Butler though. Yeah, I started writing reviews on the manga updates.
Did you really?
Not all heroes wear capes.
Oh, haha. Yeah, I wrote, what did I write about it? I wrote that it was, I liked it because it was, I gave it an 8, I think, 8 out of 10. I liked it because it was very realistic in the sense that it explores a lot of, like all the characters have a lot of flaws, but they also have, but there's also like a lot of more endearing traits for them. You get really kind of invested in the characters and that you want them to be happy and successful because you kind of relate to their flaws. And there's a lot about communication, a lot about internal, external struggles, insecurities that they each have. It's not that enjoyable to read because it's so realistic, if that makes sense. In my opinion, like, I feel like I liked it, but I didn't feel that great after reading it because it was just so realistic to me.
I liked Lady and Her Butler at first, like in the way beginning. And then, I don't know, I just felt like they were fighting too much and, like you said, it just got too real. And it just kind of like was not as enjoyable as it was in the way beginning when they were like still getting to know each other and he was lying about being gay.
Should take the time to like read it, see if they like it. It has a lot of good commentary.
I believe it's on Lesson, right? Like the translation.
Yeah. Any other like Korean webtoons? I feel like there's a lot of more. I can think of more Korean webtoons that are like set in college, for example. Like I don't know that many Joseis that are set in college.
I know Cheese in the Trap. It's really popular. Always kept you on your toes about like the male lead. He was like high-key Yandere.
Never read it, unfortunately. I know there's a K-drama for it too, but I also have not watched it.
I heard the K-drama was pretty bad. My friend was complaining about it the entire time.
K-dramas are like never great adaptations. Like they change almost everything.
I feel like some of them were good though. Like, was it What's Wrong with Secretary
Yeah, I
Kim?
think it's good if
It's
you
a pretty
don't
good
compare it to
K-drama.
the original source material and you just kind of watch it as it is, because it's just, if you compare them, you're gonna just be like, this is not supposed to happen, this is not supposed to happen, this is not supposed to happen. Where did this come from? So K-dramas are best, I think, in my opinion, watched, or like the Korean adaptations are always best watched without having to compare to the source material, because they just change so much. Like, they're not necessarily bad changes, but if you're comparing it to something that you already know, like, it's not the same.
Oh, speaking of like K-drama webtoons becoming K-dramas, I think was it Office Blind Date is also getting a K-drama soon, and that one's also a Josei. I
Oh,
guess
I
you
don't
would
think
count
I've
it as that.
ever read that one. Office Blind Date, is that what you called it?
Yeah,
I
the
don't think I've
Office
heard of
Blind
it.
Date.
Is that
I've
the one where
heard
she
a
has
lot
like
about
pink
it. I
hair?
think it's pretty popular.
Tapes.
Is that the one where she has like pink hair and she pretends to, you know? Okay.
Yeah, that lasted like, but it drags on for a really long
It's still
time.
ongoing, right? I'm pretty sure it is.
Tapis, it's ongoing,
Rip.
yeah. But I'm pretty sure the Korean version's already completed.
Oh.
But that one I also don't know what she does in the office, so there's that.
I love in K-dramas, like, sometimes, like, they're too specific. Or, like, the office setting is so, like, weird. You know what I mean? Like, and She Was Pretty, it was, like, a fashion office. But it was, like, so weirdly colorful. Like, the offices are so, like, dynamic and unique. Instead of just, like, a typical, like, office, like, setting you'd see in, like, a Josei manga. There's, like, a lot of color and
It's not-
weird glass
It's not a
panels.
cubicle. It's usually not the classic like cubicle look that La Jose have.
Yeah. Like the cubicle is like,
But I don't-
the boss's cubicle is like all glass or something.
Right. I mean, I don't work in an office setting at the moment, so is that what offices look like now?
Looked at my dad's office and no, it doesn't look like that.
We talked a lot about office settings, but do you guys know any josei that aren't? You know, if people don't like office settings, if they think they're boring, or they work in an office and they're like, I'm sick of it. Do you know any
Can I recommend one?
non-office setting
Can I
josei?
not? Can I unrecommend something or like not Yeah, I'm gonna not recommend something. Usagi Drop. Don't read it. It was not an office setting,
Don't.
and
No. Read it until, like, don't read it till the end. Like, stop by like the midpoint, basically.
don't get to the point where she grows up.
Yeah, just read it until she stays a kid, and then stop. Just drop it there.
Usagi, drop it there.
Literally, yeah, literally.
It's in the title.
Drop it. Just what was the mangaka thinking when she got older?
And why?
Why? Literally, why?
There was like no reason for that to happen.
Was it supposed to be like a full cycle of how her mom was into old people, so she should also be into old people? I don't know.
That's not a good
It's not. It
cycle.
really isn't.
Why should people not read it? Why do you not recommend
If you don't like spoilers, don't listen past this one. Just now. Basically, so this older guy, right? He goes to his grandpa's funeral, right? And it turns out his grandpa had a secret child. So the male lead, he decides to adopt her as his own child. And it's basically like most of it is like their relationship and like how he's like her father figure. And then all things go downhill and they end up as a couple.
Is that that's incest?
That's
Really, it
gross.
is.
It's grooming. And is it incest? Because I think there was something about him actually not being blood related to the grandpa or something.
Really?
But I mean, it's a father
Yeah.
figure.
I don't know, but either way, it's still grooming.
It really is.
I mean, a lot of the otome isekais are categorized under josei, I think. There's a lot of spicy like manhwas that would be kind of that type of setting. That's not an office, but you know, like medieval type.
Oh, okay, one spicy...
Villainous in Love. That's one with Ishid.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it has villainous in the name. I'm like, that's like half of them.
This is
that
the one I
know.
wanted to win, like, the
Which one is
competition. Ishid. Ishid.
Oh,
The black-haired guy.
Oh yeah, it's called Villainous in Love now. No, I used to go by a different
Yeah, I'm just going
name.
by the official
That's
name.
why I was like, which? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that one's great.
Very
That one's
spicy.
I think one of the spicy ones I would really recommend is Missing O, just because it deals with like a lot more than just the smut. It has a lot of like life problems and a lot of like female empowerment in it, surprisingly, in a smut manga. And I think it's on Legend, if I remember properly.
I second that recommendation.
Yes, it's very good. It's surprisingly good. And then if you want like healthy sex, then I guess Talk to Me is also very good in that case because it's very consensual.
Anything? Any other recommendations?
These are all just smut now.
I was gonna say, Your Throne on Webtoons right now is really good. I think it's considered Josei, but I think the characters are so.
Oh, yeah.
The main character, at least like Medea, she's so like amazingly written. I think she could be kind of a Mary Sue a little bit, but she's very well written. And so is the.
Yeah, I don't like to use this term, but she's very badass. That's all I gotta say. And then also, I think Coffee and Vanilla is also a very popular spicy manga.
I didn't really like it. I tried, but like I just keep on feeling like the male lead has like an ulterior motive, but he doesn't. But he just has that vibe. You know what I mean?
He has
I get
some
that.
snake vibe.
But he's not a snake. I don't understand. Like, why give him like sneaky
But
vibes?
he really seems like
makes
one.
me- Yeah, he kind of oddly makes me
yeah,
uncomfortable as well.
same.
Like he's like the know-it-all type, where it's like the power imbalance is too
Yeah,
big for
I
me.
agree. Like, I just don't understand.
There's
Like, he
also
takes her
the
home,
blood of
like, in
Madame
the end. Like,
Giselle.
why does he like
Oh.
her so much?
Didn't they have like a one-night stand?
Did they? I thought they just randomly meet or something. I don't remember.
I don't remember.
He went to the
It was
coffee
kinda
shop she
weird.
worked at, I think.
He sounds like a kidnapper.
Or maybe not the one she worked at, maybe she went there. I feel like they met at a coffee shop. That's... Maybe not, but that seems familiar to
Is it
me.
because it's in the title?
Maybe. I'm gonna recommend another Josei that isn't entirely about romance. Actually, it's hardly. Well, I don't know. Kuroshi Ai. It's a psychological crime, a little bit thriller. Actually, a lot bit thriller.
Is
If you...
it the one of the two assassins?
It's getting an anime.
Yes.
Yeah,
It is?
this year, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
shit.
Damn. I still haven't started.
It's really
it.
good. I liked it. But, the, like, Melee just has very strong snake vibes, but it's very interesting. It keeps you on your toes.
Is it as snaky as Coffee and Vanilla?
Even more of a snake.
I read a Kuroshi Eye, and I think that one is also a good one.
Yeah.
I think it did get, if I remember correctly, I was kind of reading it, and then I kind of got, there was like a point where it was getting a little too wild in like the plot, I guess, or like things were just kind of becoming confusing for me, but it's still overall, I think, very good so far.
It looks like the
trying to
anime
figure
is
it out
coming
if it's
out.
ongoing.
It was announced in December, so I'm sure it's
I
gonna
was like
come out
looking into
sometime
it a
this
little bit,
year.
and I think it's like published under Comic Gene, right? And I think I was looking into Comic Gene, that book, and it was, or that publisher, and I think they do a lot of like, they call it, I saw on Wikipedia, but I couldn't find the source for why they said this, but like their tagline was like shonen for girls or something, or female audiences. So it's a little more, a lot of the works are like more action heavy. Some of them like have horror elements and things like that, if you were to look at like their lineups. Yeah, that's what I found on Wikipedia, but I couldn't find the original source of where they said that. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I kind of want to do something on like that,
Ooh.
like an episode on Comic Gene and like that kind of, those type of works. I think we should totally do something on horror. That might be fun.
That would be fun.
I'm down
Or
for that.
shoujo.
I don't read much horror shoujo, but I want to like listen in.
What's it called? Rise with Tanen Gai. I think that counts, right?
Technically,
Really? There's a lot.
I know the other author is the something Noroi.
Yeah, you said Reiswa,
What's
right?
called?
Wait, you're talking about Reiswa? I think that is seinen.
Wow.
Is it? Can I count it as Josei? Just
I
'cause it's not
the
good.
mangaka's other works are she has another work that's
Haru no Noroi. That one's also
Josei.
really good.
yes.
That one's Josei.
And that one's coming out. That has a physical release coming out sometime this
Ooh.
year, I think.
I wish that one was slightly longer though, because I feel like it just ended, and it was kind of
Yeah,
incomplete.
I
to
agree.
me.
Like, I wanted to see like them living together. I wanted more from it.
I wanted more, a little bit more fluff, you know, just a
Like,
little.
it just was so depressing. Like, I wanted, yeah, like you said, more fluff to even it out.
But Rising Watani, or the English name is An Outsider is better in
I
the
really like
afterlife.
that one, too.
Apparently,
I like
and
Reiswa.
that one's really good. Like keeps you on your
I wonder if
toes.
they're talking about.
I
the
really
As
like
lead.
that
Sumo
one
likes to
too.
say, it keeps you on your toes.
I wonder if they're talking about the male lead, since he's technically an outsider, right?
I guess. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
I think he's-
maybe.
I think he's illegitimate, maybe?
Yeah, he was like he was
Dun,
brought in
dun,
from the
dun.
outside.
Well, yeah.
We'll see whenever it updates. Never.
Or if you watch, or if you want Shoma as the male lead, he's also brought
That
in
is
from
true.
the outside.
That is true.
Oh,
Very good point.
very true.
But I doubt he's actually the main lead.
I know, he gives me strong second male lead vibes, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, Kirishima he's something.
All right. Do you guys have any other ones that you wanted to talk about?
I do. I have Nodome Cantabile.
That one's good.
I think
It's so funny.
I think.
The drama for it is 10 out of 10. I highly recommend the drama if you don't want to read the manga.
I don't think I've read that one.
I thought both were really good.
I'm sure the manga is great too.
It's so funny.
I never read the manga. I only watched the drama for it, and it was really good. It's really funny. It's like over the top, like comedy type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think I read a few chapters of it, and I did think it was really funny.
It does get a little bit boring in like the middle later end, but since it is kind of long, I ended up like temporarily pausing it because I got bored.
I'm like looking up something about it, and it is a Josei manga. Apparently, it is the best-selling Josei manga in history.
Honestly, it deserves
It has
it.
It deserves
37 million copies in circulation, and well, I thought
37 million?
37 million.
That's a lot.
What I thought was interesting was that though it received the 2004 Kodansha Manga Award for Best Shoujo Manga.
Ooh.
But
But
it's
it's
just
yeah.
It can be the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
it deserves it. Okay.
I think I'm realizing also that I feel like I haven't read that many Josei manga because most of my manga reading, happened in like high school, middle school, and I wasn't that interested in Josei. I just wanted all my shoujo high school settings, and it wasn't until I was older where I was more interested in Josei. And so most of my Josei reading happened when I was older, which isn't as much because I'm just not reading as much as I used to.
Well, I guess this would be a good point to ask, like, now that we're older, and we might find Josei more relatable, but why do we keep going back to shoujo? High schoolers in their doki
I mean, I
doki
think
romance.
we kind of talked about this question in the beginning, a little bit. But yeah, I guess sometimes you don't like a lot of Josei tend to have a lot more substance to it in terms of, like social commentary or lessons or growth maturity. It's not saying that shoujo doesn't, but there's a lot more like I feel like there's a lot more shoujo mangas that are a little more shallow or cliche, but sometimes shallow and cliche, you want that stuff. It's like, why do we keep watching like high school rom-coms? Like, I don't know why do I keep watching Amanda Bynes movies?
I think sometimes it's just nice to jump back into like the wholesome, quote unquote, pure romance
Yeah.
that's like innocent.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you don't want that spice. You need a little vanilla in there. And it's you sometimes want something unrealistic that like you can't really relate to, but then it's still nice to read about.
Like To All the Boys I Loved Before, like that was huge. You know, that was set in high school, but a lot of people who watched it were also like older, our age. My friends watched it. I watched it.
I watched it
Yeah.
too.
I haven't either.
You haven't watched To All the
not at all.
Boys? Like the first one? No. Oh wow. I'm surprised.
I would say watch the first one, but not the second one because the second one
The
makes no
second one was
sense.
so bad. I haven't watched the third one though.
Oh yeah, it came
Yeah,
out.
it
the
always
third?
comes out on.
That's
It always
cute.
comes out on Valentine's Day, or like that weekend.
Yeah, it's them going to college because you know, what's a high school romance
Did they
about
get
the
into
college
Yale or
party?
something?
So I mean, I feel like it's not.
I love how they always like end
don't
up in
know.
like some Ivy League without studying or like.
I didn't watch it.
I know they do. They do always end up in Ivy Leagues. I'm like, wow, you're smart.
And they spend their whole life, like a whole day, like every day with their like,
Yeah, they're like,
significant
you're
other.
never
Like, somehow.
studying. How are you in an Ivy League?
They study for like 1 hour,
Not even.
and they have no
Yeah, I'm
extracurricular too. So I'm like, what's in your portfolio?
Yeah, that's weird. But yeah, I feel like it's not specific to like shoujo manga. You know, I think there's a lot of appeal to like, I guess high school romance, even to older generations. Maybe it's just a nostalgic thing. Even in like shonen, you know, like all the popular shonen animes or seinen animes, they're all set in high school. It's like always a magic high school, but you know, it's still high school.
Oh, that's true. It's all high school, and like a lot of people who watch it are adults, or like graduated high school at least.
Yeah. Yeah, like Jujutsu Kaisen, they're in high school.
You know, Jujutsu Kaisen is so lit.
Yeah, so they're in high school in Naruto for most of it, I think. They're like
they
not
are.
even. They're like in like elementary school.
Are they really in elementary
for
school?
the first series, right? And then they're finally in high school in Shippuden.
Wait, Naruto's in elementary school?
Yeah, I think there's like a whole thing about Japan's obsession with.
I mean,
high
I know
school.
Ash
forgot
from
Naruto's
Pokemon
age
is
right
obviously
now.
in elementary school. What's that,
This is
sixth,
like a
fifth grade?
12-year-old, right? In the last Naruto, the movie, Naruto is 19 years old. But how old was he in the beginning of Naruto? Wait, I want to see his age.
I'm gonna guess he was 12 or 11.
No, why is it giving me like record? I want his age. Oh, he was 12! In the beginning of Naruto, or part 1 as they call it, he was 12 to 13.
I thought he was 10.
He was 12? Holy crap. I didn't know he was that young. I thought he was like a teen, like a brooding teen. Because like Sasuke was always like angsty.
No, well, he wasn't in Shippuden. In the beginning of Shippuden, I think he's like
If
16.
part 2 is Shippuden, he was like 15, and then he became 17 by the end of it.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, Naruto's really young throughout the whole
Is that why
series.
it's so long? And because it goes
You
through
know
this
what
every
makes me
single year.
You know what makes me scream is that I'm on the wiki. It's not called Naruto Wiki, it's called Boruto Wiki.
No. What?
Like Naruto's gone. Is Boruto
You know that
now.
that meme Boruto's dad.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay. So is there any other final thoughts y'all want to add on Josei?
I think was it Something Is Wrong With Us? That one is so it's just insane.
Something
Like
is
every
wrong
time
with us?
like it's a Josei and it's about like they make like confectionery, like Japanese confectionery. And there's like a murder plot in the background. And you're like, who's the murderer? And then the guy's kind of a snake and you don't trust anyone. It just keeps you on your toes.
I have not read that.
Had a
Is that
drama.
one? Is that one Japanese or is that? It's a Japanese one,
That
right?
one's it's a Japanese one. There's also a drama for it, I think, somehow.
Oh, I just looked up the description. A spine-chilling and steamy romance between a Japanese sweets maker and a man who framed her mother for murder.
Oh, that seems...
It's dark, psychological, sexy shoujo?
Well, I mean, I feel
It's
like...
Sexy
16
shoujo's a
plus.
genre.
Sexy shoujo.
It's spicy. Actually, no, there's not actually that many spice. It's just very dramatic and like you're like, what the hell's going on?
That description is kind of like...
Yeah, the art's really
attention
nice.
grabbing. I feel like I would want to read that.
The
It has
art's
like
nice,
the
that's why I
classic
started
mid
reading it.
2000s like art style.
Oh, if the art's nice, that's even better. Oh, I think it's... Is it considered a shoujo?
Steamy.
Kodansha calls it a shoujo.
I mean, I count it as a josei because it's like her and like her love for like
Seems-
the Japanese confectionery. It talks a lot about like confectionery and how like the different shapes have different meanings and colors and all that stuff.
Well, in manga updates, it's a josei.
I trust manga updates
So-
more than
Yeah, it's insane. That's all I gotta say.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Let's see, we talked about the differences, we talked about smut, we hated
Yeah, I
on
think
some...
we covered a lot. I think we covered a lot.
think that's-
Like,
I think that's
covered
it.
a lot
I think
more
that's all we
josei than
do.
I thought we would.
We can jump back to this topic. Let us know
if you want us to
like,
cover
come
any
back to this
specific
topic.
series, let us know. We'll be happy to do so.
Let us know your thoughts on the ones that we mentioned. Maybe
We
you're like
apologize.
really into
Yes,
Happy
please tell
Mari.
us why.
Let us know why.
Let us know. Let us know why. If you are one of those people that recommend Happy Mari to your friends, let us
Me
know
too.
why. If you want to know about my life, you can follow my Twitter at Shoujoverse Nikki.
I'm on Summosa at Summosa everywhere.
Wow, nice plug.
And we'll see you next
All right, well,
time.
thank you. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Bye.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye!
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Into the Shoujo-Verse. Check out our social media. We're on Twitter at the Shoujo-Verse, YouTube and Instagram at Shoujo-Verse, and TikTok at Into the Shoujo-Verse. Thank you so much.